In today's video, we're going to talk about why you might want to make dumbbells part of your physical fitness routine, including the hot pink ones. Welcome, I'm John of John Health and Fitness. No miracles, real life. Part of real life is choosing what kind of equipment to use for your physical fitness routine. Specifically, dumbbells and the role they can play. I'd like to note some things up front first before we get started. First, I'm not claiming dumbbells are the only thing you should use, or that they are superior to other forms of equipment. There are lots of things you can choose. Each one has its own advantages, depending on your goals, your focus, and your preferences. So I'm going to speak specifically to what I think dumbbells are particularly good at and why you might want to incorporate them. Second, I'm going to be talking about dumbbells and their role in weight training, or more accurately, resistance training. You can do weighted cardio with dumbbells and other devices. It's not something I prefer, it's not something I would program. So for today, dumbbells for weight training. Third, I'm going to be speaking primarily about upper body resistance training. The reason for that is because my main focus in discussing dumbbells is the kind of instability they introduce in a weight training program. Typically with lower body workouts, it's called what's a closed chain. That is, your feet are planted on a fixed surface and your body is moving through space, like in a squat. Now you can introduce some instability with dumbbells doing things like a squat. I'll talk about that towards the end. But I'm principally interested in upper body, where it's much more pronounced. And finally, I'm not ignoring that there are other pieces of equipment that can also introduce instability, including resistance bands, kettlebells, and even machines that use cables and allow a certain amount of movement through the motion. I'll throw a couple links under the eye up there, one about resistance bands that I made recently, and another one I found elsewhere on YouTube about kettlebells. Okay, so I'm talking a lot about instability, I'm talking about weight training, and I'm talking about the upper body. What am I talking about? The shoulder. Let's start with the shoulder joint itself. It is the most ridiculous joint in your body. It barely qualifies as a joint as far as I'm concerned. It is essentially a shallow cup with the head of your arm bone or humerus resting into it, all held together by zip ties and bungee cords. The advantage of that is range of motion. No other joint in your body can move like this. Disadvantage is it's relatively unstable. What I want to do is contrast a dumbbell with primarily machines, but to a lesser extent, barbells. A machine, say you're doing an overhead press, locks you into basically a kinetic path, a specific range of motion. That is good in some respects, certainly for people who are, say, deconditioned or just starting out, just learning proper form. It basically locks them into proper form as long as your initial setup is good. Barbells, also true. Certainly a lot more range of motion with a barbell, but the hands are fixed together. With a dumbbell, nothing is fixed to anything. It can completely move through air here. Now that does create some alignment issues, so you have to be really hyper-focused on how you're positioned for the weight. But it does allow some micro adjustments. It allows you to be fractions of an inch off one way or another. And that can matter depending on how your shoulder is structured. When you get locked into a range of motion or a specific path of motion that might be suboptimal for your particular joint, in this case the shoulder, you do run the increased risk of developing a chronic injury of some kind. I feel like a dumbbell allows you to, with general proper alignment, find a more natural path or range. Now if you're going way out of alignment to try to avoid pain or you can't lift the weight, that's a problem that needs to be addressed separately. I'm really just talking about those little micro adjustments. Aside from finding a more natural path for your shoulder to run through, more natural for you, using a dumbbell also creates more demands on your neuromuscular energy and your proprioception, which is your awareness of your body in space. And this starts getting down to functional fitness. Machines basically take that kind of stabilization right out of the equation. You're pushing through a fixed range of motion, a fixed kinetic path. Barbells less so, but also a little bit. With a dumbbell, you've got to spend a fair amount of energy and attention to making sure it's following the right path and you have right alignment and good form. Now the disadvantage to that is that with all that extra energy and attention towards stabilization, it's taking it away from really hitting those prime movers. So if you're going for big bench press numbers or other goals, you're better off with a machine, better off with a barbell and other machines They basically lock you into that fixed range of motion. Quick word about so-called stabilizer muscles. You really don't have any. Not like it's often thought of. Your joints aren't riddled with dozens of stabilizer muscles. Basically, any muscle running through a joint helps to contribute to the joint's integrity. Depending on the move you're doing, certain muscles more than others are being engaged in that kind of stabilization. Shoulder in particular, because again, it's just this ball resting in a concave socket. So when you're doing these kinds of exercises, say with a dumbbell, where you have that instability, you're not working these mythical stabilizer muscles. What you are doing is you're strengthening and toning the general musculature throughout the joint to increase the stabilization and its integrity. So when you put all that together, I think that's important in terms of functional fitness. There are not a lot of things in life where you're called upon to push against a fixed surface, unless you find yourself pushing cars out of ditches a lot or hanging drywall or something like that. Most of life is holding a free weight of some kind. It can be luggage, it can be bags. And so if you train with dumbbells, you basically have real everyday applications in life that those can contribute to. Now again, it doesn't mean you should only train with dumbbells. Only that if you never train with dumbbells or some of the other unstable platforms like kettlebells, you might want to consider doing so or making it part of your routine. If your main focus is big bench press numbers, keep focusing on that. But maybe introduce the lowly dumbbell as well into that. So a quick word about lower body workouts with dumbbells. You can introduce some instability using dumbbells, for that matter kettlebells, in a squat. Simply hold a weight in one hand while doing a squat. While you do have a closed chain, your feet are flat on the floor, you're creating that instability across the core. In fact, they call that a suitcase squat. It's one of my favorite moves because that's real life. Very rarely in real life are you carrying two objects that are the exact same weight, unless you are a meticulous packer in the self-checkout line at the supermarket. In which case, look behind you, there are some annoyed people there. A couple other things I like about dumbbells is they don't take up a lot of room. I live in a small house, and I've used barbells down in my basement where I work out. It tends to be ungainly, and machines take up way too much space. Also, you can get dumbbells in a variety of festive colors. All the small ones are like lavender and pink. The big heavy ones tend to be gray and black. I consider that completely ridiculous, but that's just how it is. On the plus side, you can color coordinate your outfits with your dumbbells, if you're so inclined. I've never actually done that in public. To sum up, you should use dumbbells, but not only dumbbells. I personally do use dumbbells. They're kind of my foundational equipment, but I also use TRX, I use active motion bars, I do pull-ups, I do push-ups. Occasionally a barbell too. Be sure to check out those videos up under the eye so you can see about resistance bands and kettlebells as well. As for these specific dumbbells I'm using, I'll put an affiliate link down in the description. I've got these from Amazon. They're Amazon Basics dumbbells. I mean, they're dumbbells, right? All they have to do is be heavy and have a nice coating. And these do. I use these for my personal training business. Also, I'll put a link down for this shirt. I have a TeeSpring store. It comes in a variety of colors and different styles. And I have a whole bunch of other ones too. Thanks for watching. I am John of John Health and Fitness. Check out my website, johnhealthandfitness.com. Don't forget, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you'd like some more tips and tricks like this. And I'll see you next time. Take care. And that kind of plays into my hyper-focus on functional fitness. The dog. Now he wants to chew in a bone. That's fine.